The host's announcement left everyone completely stunned. These were two of the world's most exclusive luxury cars. Just seeing one in person was a rare event. There weren't even that many of them in the country. And now they had both been bought in advance by the same person? You have to understand, you can't just buy a car at this level with money alone. To even be considered for the Ardent Motors 177, you have to be a member of the Ardent Motors brand, and the buyer must own 3 or more Ardent Motors sports cars worth over $10 million each. Only then do you qualify. This car is incredibly limited worldwide. There are only 77 of them across more than 200 countries. There isn't even one in the entire country. And the custom Koenigsegg Agera is even harder to get. Koenigsegg already caters to the world's super rich, but add a joint customization with Henley, and the price becomes astronomical. The fact that the same person bought both of these cars meant their identity and status were unbelievably powerful. But Charlie's attention wasn't on the two cars. He was scanning the crowd, searching everywhere for Clare. After searching for a long time without finding her, he suddenly heard a man next to him say, "Clare, come take a look at these two cars. They're the best in the world. Even I've never seen anything like them." Charlie turned his head at the sound and saw Clare with a man and another woman following behind. The man was in a slick suit and leather shoes, looking a little greasy, while the woman's clothes were trendy but a bit revealing, and she couldn't compare to Clare. At that moment, Clare was following the man, smiling, saying, "Mr. Graham, I don't really know much about cars." The man, Gideon, laughed and said, "I know a lot about them. After all, our convention and exhibition center hosts auto shows all the time." Seeing that Clare was keeping a professional distance from the guy and calling him Mr. Graham, Charlie guessed she was probably there for a business meeting and felt a wave of relief. Since his wife was there for work, he didn't want to be spotted and cause a misunderstanding, so Charlie decided to slip away. But just as he was about to leave, Clare looked up, saw him, and asked in surprise, "Charlie, what are you doing here?" Charlie, caught off guard, quickly replied, "Oh, I just came to check things out and see what's what." "Honey, why are you here?" Clare nodded, not giving it a second thought. She turned to Charlie and gestured to the man beside her. "Charlie, let me introduce you. This is Mr. Gideon. His family owns the Oris Hill Convention Center. They used to be one of the Wilson Group's partners, but that cooperation has ended. It just so happens the exhibition hall at the convention center is getting renovated in a couple of days, so he invited me to discuss the project." With that, Clare introduced the woman next to Gideon. "By the way, this is Joanna Keller, a classmate of mine from high school. She's Mr. Graham's secretary now." Just then, Joanna shot Charlie a surprised look and said, "Clare, I heard from our old high school friends that you ended up with some useless house husband. I can't believe it's actually him." Gideon just smiled faintly, but as he looked at Charlie, his eyes flashed with hostility for a moment before he quickly hid it. He'd always had a thing for Clare and knew she had a husband, but he'd never actually met the guy. Now, realizing the person in front of him was Clare's supposedly useless husband, Gideon looked at Charlie and asked with a hint of condescension, "So, Charlie, what is it you do for a living?" Charlie replied flatly, "I'm between jobs at the moment." Joanna scoffed. "Isn't that just a nice way of saying you're a kept man?" A flicker of disdain crossed Gideon's eyes as well. Back when Clare was still at the Wilson Group, he'd had a crush on her. Now that he heard she'd started her own company, he deliberately dangled a renovation contract for the exhibition center and invited her over, hoping to impress her. Wanting to look good in front of Clare, he looked at Charlie and smiled slightly. "Charlie, you really shouldn't have come today. Everyone at this auto show is someone important in Oris Hill City. You being here is just embarrassing Clare." Clare's expression soured instantly. She couldn't believe Gideon would mock Charlie like that, and she was obviously not happy. However, before Clare could say a word, Charlie's eyes went cold. He said lightly, "Is this show really that big of a deal?" I wouldn't even be here if my car wasn't on display.
Your car? Joanna sneered from the side. Look at yourself. Don't you know that the cars here start at $1 million? You probably couldn't even afford a single lug nut. Gideon was even more disdainful of Charlie. He said proudly, "Charlie, I know how guys like you think. You're a house husband who wants to look good, so you're trying to get Claire to buy a car for you, right?" Claire said coldly, "Mr. Graham, Charlie doesn't need me to buy him anything. He's the one who bought the car I drive." Gideon was stunned for a second. He never expected that Charlie could actually afford to buy Claire a car. Joanna looked at Charlie and laughed contemptuously, then sneered. What car could he possibly afford? She turned to Claire and asked, "Claire, what kind of car did your husband get you?" Claire said, "Charlie bought 2 cars, actually. A BKM 520 for me and a BMW 530 for my father." Joanna said sarcastically, "Wow, I had no idea your husband had that kind of cash." Gideon just shook his head and smiled contemptuously. A BKM 520. My assistants drive cars like that. It's not nearly good enough for Claire. He then looked at Charlie and said coldly, "Charlie, a BKM 520 is cheap. You can get one with a down payment of just $100,000, but the cars here are worth millions. To get into a show like this, you'd need a 740 at the very least. A 5 Series wouldn't even be let through the gate. And besides, this auto show has 2 of the top supercars in the world. So just enjoy the view." Charlie smiled indifferently, pointed to the 2 luxury cars on the highest platform, and asked, "You say these are cars I can't afford, so let me ask you." "Can you afford these 2? He sneered. "I can afford every car in this exhibition hall except for those 2. What about you? A bum like you can look all you want, but you can't afford a single one." After putting Charlie down, Gideon turned to Claire. "Claire, I'm taking our partnership very seriously. To show you how sincere I am, you can pick any car here except for those 2 in the center. It's time to get you out of that junk 520. How about the Dodge Charger SRT? It's a top-of-the-line model, costs a couple of $100,000. It's powerful and it suits you perfectly." Gideon had been after Claire for a long time. He'd invited her here under the pretense of renovating the auto show center, but his real goal was to flash his money and win her over. Joanna knew Gideon had a thing for Claire, so she quickly jumped in. "Claire, that's so generous of Mr. Graham. You can't possibly refuse." Claire quickly refused. "Thank you for the offer, Mr. Graham, but that's way too expensive. I can't accept it." Gideon laughed. "Ha ha ha! A couple of $100,000 for a Dodge Charger? That's nothing to me. If you like it, just say the word and I'll buy it for you right now." Charlie looked at Gideon coldly and said, "No thanks. We have a car. Besides, even if she needed one, it wouldn't be you buying it for her." "You?" Gideon said with a sneer. "It's not that I'm looking down on you, but what car are you even talking about?" Charlie looked at him playfully, then pointed to the Ardent Motors 177 and the limited edition custom Koenigsegg Agera on the stage. He smiled and said, "How about the 2 you can't afford?" "You bastard!" Gideon thought Charlie was just trying to make him look bad. He said coldly, "Don't get cocky. Like I said, I can buy any car in this exhibition hall except for those 2. Can you?" Charlie said. "And like I said, if I were to give her a car, it would be one of those 2. Gideon laughed out loud. "Do you even know what those cars are? You're all talk. Seriously, it's not that I look down on you, but those cars have security guards. You can't even get close enough to touch them, let alone buy them." Charlie smiled. "I think you're the one who can't touch them, aren't you?" Gideon sneered. "This convention and exhibition center belongs to my family. The managers from both of those car companies have to show me some respect. You think I can't touch the cars if I want to?" Charlie shrugged. "I think you're no different from me. I can't touch it, and you can't touch it. We're the same." Gideon blew up when he heard that. He gritted his teeth and said, You think you're worthy of being compared to me? Charlie nodded. Of course I am. Like I said, there's no difference between us. If you don't believe me, try it. Okay. Gideon, completely provoked by Charlie's challenge, said coldly, You just wait. I'll go touch it for you. With that, he strode towards the crowd. Charlie's expression turned a bit cold. Christian and Salman had given those 2 cars to him. They told him they had hired security from an armored truck company to make absolutely sure no one else was allowed to touch the cars before he did. If Gideon really managed to touch the cars today, Charlie would have to settle the score with those 2. At the very least, he'd have to punish them for their failure. But what if he did touch it? After Gideon was done showing off, Charlie planned to take out his own bracelet key, get inside, and see the look on Gideon's face then.